Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Politico's article from March 7th, done by John F. Harris, and the incredibly bold political statement it makes about the 2020 U.S. presidential primary race and the ramifications of this statement on the race. Let's get into it. All right, incredible article I read on Politico. Note, I didn't say a good article. I said incredible. Right, there's a little bit of a difference. Okay, so the title will let you know where we're going here. Okay, so John F. Harris wrote an article for Politico. Politico entitled the article, 2020 has become the dementia campaign. 2020 has become the dementia campaign. 2020 has become the dementia campaign. That is an incredible headline. That warrants discussion. That is an incredible statement. So first and foremost, it is a opinion piece. Okay. However, that doesn't take away from the impact of the piece at all, and the reason why is it's from Politico. So let's talk about Politico. Politico is so John F. Harris is the author. Politico is the news source. Politico is a major news source. Here's their numbers. So one, they're a U.S. news source. They're based out of Virginia. Two, they have previously declared numbers as high as 25 million unique visits to their website daily. That is a huge amount of traffic. Absolutely massive amount of traffic. Okay. They also produce news in the following formats. They produce news on a website. They produce news for television. They produce news as podcasts. They produce news as a printed newspaper. Okay, that's 4 major media formats. And in addition to that, they're so big, they hosted 2020 debate number 6 for the Democrats. Okay, you got to have some juice to host a debate, right? I think it costs in the low millions to host a debate. You have to rent a major venue. You have to mic, minimum 6 all the way up to like 16 different candidates, right? With major, very high-end sound equipment. You need cameras. You need security. Like, it is massively expensive. I would not be surprised to hear that all these companies that are hosting these debates, that the debates cost anywhere between $2 and $5 million to host. I don't think it's cheap in any way, right? That would be my guess on cost. All right, so Politico is not some rinky-dink corner of the web news source. This is a major news source that has enough influence to put millions and millions of eligible voters in one direction or another. Okay, and Politico has an article from March 7th stating that 2020 has become the dementia campaign. The article says 3 things of significance. Let's tick them off. So first of all, Harris, the author of the article, says that Tucker Carlson insinuates that Joe Biden has dementia, right? Doesn't say Tucker Carlson says he has dementia. It says he insinuates it, and then it puts the evidence for that declaration right there in the article. It then states that many news sources have insinuated that the cognitive faculties of Donald Trump have been deteriorating, and that multiple news sources have insinuated this for the entirety of his first term as president, right? For virtually the entirety of his first term as president. Last, it states that for Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Donald Trump, the question of age-related infirmity has reached volume and centrality. Interesting. Absolutely fascinating declarations within this article. All right, so let's ask the obvious question first. Is it true? Is it true that 2020 has become the dementia campaign? First and foremost, I wouldn't touch that question with a 10-foot pole. And the reason why is, one, I think it's rude. I think it would be incredibly rude to say that the standing president has dementia. That is incredibly rude, right? And actually, remember, the article really isn't stating that. It's saying that there are so many news sources talking about this that the campaign has become about dementia, right? Like that 2020 has become the dementia campaign, right? That there's volleys of accusations going back and forth between the parties on which candidate, on which side's candidate has dementia. That's where Harris is heading with this article. An incredible statement. The ramifications are huge. We're gonna talk about the ramifications of it. Okay, so one, is it true? Right. Well, here's the thing. I would not even remotely attempt to answer this, and the reason why is, one, I think it's incredibly rude to say that about the front runner in the Democrat primary or the president. That's a bold and incredibly insulting accusation, right? And actually the article isn't even accusing them of it. It's saying that the conversation has reached a point where the campaign itself is the dementia campaign, right? Very interesting. And all of this is framing. It's framing, right? So framing is how you come at a story, how you cover a topic, and it's incredibly important in political news. Framing is incredibly important. And all political commentators and all political news reporters do framing. I do framing too, right? The question is, are you doing it fairly? Is it done well? Is it done in an entertaining perspective? But everybody does framing, and this is framing, right? Harris is framing, right? He's framing the story and saying that the campaign itself is now about dementia, right? Very, very interesting. All right. The other issue is, this is the real big kicker, right? I'm not a medical professional, so I have no idea if what they're saying is correct or I have no idea if this campaign is about dementia or not, right? Because I'm not a medical professional, right? And frankly, I'm almost certain that John F. Harris is not a medical professional either, right? So the question is kind of moot from that perspective. However, there is a massive takeaway from this. Here's the ramifications of Politico's article. And there are huge ramifications from Politico's article. We're at the jam stand again. We are at the jam stand again. Okay. So what is the real ramifications of this article being printed, right? Being published, right? Because it's huge. All right, here we go. All right. So I've been saying for a while, and I still say this now, I'll give a summary of it. We have a massive, there's a global health crisis right now. We're looking at that. There's a global climate crisis, and there's a global love crisis. I actually think the global love crisis is the biggest problem we have today. So basically, millennials now live in a world where love has been fixed, in that two American adults are standing in front of each other. Doesn't matter what their situation is. They now have the ability to, love is love. It doesn't matter what their gender is, doesn't matter what their preference is, doesn't matter if they want to be in a relationship with one person or 7 people. That is now an option, right? And so we've moved into this modern understanding of love, where these old axes of love have been thrown out, right? So gender doesn't matter, preference doesn't matter, plurality doesn't matter, right? And so the millennials have more options for who they choose as a partner for love than in any other time in humanity's history. And so everybody thought that was going to turn out great, right? But what has really happened is millennials generally have been going, oh my gosh, the complexity on this is so high, right? I now need to go forward and I need to get this right. Is the person in front of me interested in my gender? Are they interested in my my preferences? Are they interested in my plurality? You know, like, I want a one-on-one. I want a one-on-three, right? Like, and they're like, I have no idea. And the odds of them being interested in the axis in the axes of romance that I'm interested in are so low, I'm not even going to try. And so this global love crisis is huge. And literally millions and millions and millions of millennials who now live in a world where any option for love has been unlocked between two consenting adults, right? They're all walking away from the jam stand. The jam stand used to be, hey, do you want strawberry? Do you want blueberry? Now it's 24 flavors, and rather than picking a flavor, they're walking away from the jam stand completely with no jam in hand, right? They're not getting apricot or, mango or watermelon jam. They're not getting any of it. They're just walking away empty-handed. And there's the complexity's too high. That's exactly where we are at with the Politico article, okay? So now, a major news source comes forward and says the 2020 campaign is about dementia, right? So you have 25 million at least viewers who've read this thing, there's or some portion of that, millions of viewers have read this thing, right? Or at least read the headline, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, okay. They're like, okay, Politico is saying that the 2020 U.S. campaign for president is about dementia. I need to now do medical research to determine if Politico is right. And then if they're right, I need to determine which candidates have dementia or do not have dementia. And then I need to determine if voting for the candidate with the least dementia is the best approach. Ain't no voter in the world at the macro level gonna do that. They ain't gonna care. They're like, nope. They're gonna go, you know what? Listen, 44% of all eligible voters in 2016 did not vote. Boy, were they smart. Wow, were they smart. That looks so attractive. I love that idea of not voting. That sounds great. I'm just really, really, really interested in the idea of not voting. And also not doing medical research about dementia. I'd really like to not do medical research about dementia. Right? I'd really like not have to troubleshoot a major news source that's saying this entire campaign is about dementia. Right? That is going to be an incredibly, incredibly attractive option to the vast majority of voters. So I think what's going to happen is, I think Politico was getting cute and thought that they were going to have a discussion about the 2020 campaign being about dementia, but really what we're really talking about now is voter suppression, right? I don't think they're intending to suppress votes, but I think the absolute outcome of this article is going to be massive voter suppression. No two ways about it, right? And not in a cruel way, right? I think people are just like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not medically researching dementia. There's no way, right? I'm a political wonk. I'm not going to do research about medical research about dementia. There's no way. There is absolutely no way. That is depressing and sad and weird, and I'm not doing it, right? There's no way, right? And I'm telling you, if I have a degree in political science, and I love this stuff, and I have absolutely no interest in doing that kind of medical research, right? There's no way. And so what's really going to happen is just millions and millions and millions of voters are going to walk away, right? Now, you think I'm going to end it oh, it's going to be voter suppression. No. That's not the end of the story. Donald Trump wins. That's the end of the story, baby, right? So when people are disengaged and are incented to not vote, right, and are really encouraged not to vote, Republicans win, period. And the reason why is Republicans when you take 10 Republicans and stand them against a wall, and you take 10 Democrats and stand them against a wall, and you say which one of these groups is more likely to come out and vote, it's always the Republicans. And the reason why is they just have a structure. They like the people who are Republican vote at higher rates than non-Republicans. And it has to do with the structure of who are Republicans and who are Democrats. Younger people are generally Democrats. Older people are generally Republicans. Older people vote like crazy. Younger people do not vote at the macro level. Do not vote at the macro level. Bernie Sanders just found that out and had some statements about it. I can't believe Bernie Sanders, been in politics for 30 years, thought that young people were going to show up for him. Young people don't show up for anybody. And it's amazing how many Democrats keep thinking that they're going to be the one. Right? You ain't the chosen one. Bernie Sanders is not the chosen one. Right? Like, like, no way. And so that's the thing that's really amazing. So the reality is, it is incredible that we've reached a point where there are major news sources talking about 2020 as the dementia campaign. That is an incredibly bold statement. I think the outcome of that statement is going to be voter suppression. There is going to be a large number of voters who are incented and encouraged to not show up at the ballot because they're so daunted by the idea of doing medical research about the subject of dementia. There's no way they're going to go down that road. Right? The complexity of it is just too high. So they're going to walk back, right? And then as soon as you are incenting and encouraging millions of voters, unintended, I don't think Politico intended to do that in any way, then what's going to happen is that is without a doubt going to help Donald Trump. And he's just getting, you know what, Donald Trump barely has to run a campaign. The left is putting booster rockets on his campaign. This article is booster rockets on the Donald Trump campaign, without a doubt. It's going to be massively, massively, massively help his campaign. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.